You don't have to have superpowers to be super or feel
If
super.
you're Superman talking about having a super secret identity.
Yeah, well, Batman don't hang upside down or drink nectar from a fruit.
It
Okay?
only comes out at night and hangs other people upside down
He don't
and
bite
dresses like a
motherfuckers
goddamn bat.
every
Dance, dance, we're falling apart to halftime. Dance, dance, and these are the lives you love to lead. Dance, this is the way they'd love if they knew how misery loved me.
Somebody's over there.
She says she's no good with words, but I'm worse. Anyway, hey guys, y'all know who it is, what's going on, when it's happening, where it's at, and why we're here today? How you doing? It is I, the sublimely magnificent, big ugly himself, Omari feogrande on YouTube, and I'm here once again with another episode. Oh yeah, Pete on the show. I'm sorry, Jazz is like, what? You didn't say to Pete? How dare you? Pete on the show, and I'm here with another episode of the Whatever We Want podcast, the first episode of what I'm gonna start calling season 2, as it is the first episode of year 2 of the Whatever We Want podcast. And we are here on YouTube, and I am here on YouTube. That means I am being watched, and I'm only being watched. Let me be honest, I'm not that egotistical. I'm only being watched because I am joined by the man who bears all the watching, Superjaz. God damn it, I pointed the wrong way again.
I laugh because of how like upset you got. He's this is
Superjaz.
Yeah. Fuck. Like
I realized I did that on a previous episode too. I was like Superjaz, and then I just saw myself pointed the wrong way.
But it was just like funny because it's like, yeah, we're so happy, everything's so great and everything. Fuck, like the hell. So real quick before I get into my introduction and let everybody know who I am, for those who may or may not know, I just want to say, we're going to go on record. The let the chips fall where they may ramble was too long and too kind of But this man can say, we're watching if you're watching. So how you watch when you watch? Don't watch me, watch TV. Don't worry if you watch while you watch. Who's got to watch? I've got to watch. A Fitbit is a watch while you watch. Hey, can you watch? Who's going to watch?
I didn't even say that. I said we are on YouTube, which means people are watching.
And
they're only watching because I'm with the man who bears watch. Excuse me for trying to put you over.
The difference is, put you over, shut up. The difference is, I don't have a problem with it. I'm just pointing out.
I didn't have a problem with the other one. I just wanted to have a catchphrase on the show for us as a show to have a catchphrase because the chips fall debate every Wednesday.
Catchphrases.
Okay, what's one more? That's all. Mr. Bears watching. If I'm trying to add to the watchers.
Like we got your whole intro. We got my intro.
What are we arguing?
We're gonna watch next time.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and say this is not a serious argument going on.
It's not. No, of course.
Before I keep going, I'm just saying I was trying to let people know I'm here with the great Superjaz. The glasses are off. We know your secret identity, sir.
Never worn glasses a day in my life. Like put them on, but never been prescribed. like I don't have glasses. Like the only glasses I have are for drinking. Anyway,
you ain't got superpowers either, It's the analogy.
Look, you don't have to have superpowers to be super or feel.
If you're Superman talking about having a super secret identity.
Yeah, well, Batman don't hang upside down or drink nectar from a fruit.
It only comes out at night and hangs other people upside down and dresses like a goddamn bat.
Everybody, my name, yes, I am the other host of the show. And as he said, yes, if you would like to, you can go ahead and call me Jazz. You can also call me Superjaz, SJ, JT, whatever you want, what have you in the like. Sounds like a catchphrase. And as I always say, this is the Whatever We Want podcast. So we do just that. We talk about whatever we want. We do not lead the conversation. The conversation leads us, and we let the chips fall where they may.
Every Wednesday.
Hey, hey, hey. And just for measure, for those of us who actually did grow up in the mid 2000s and watch a little bit of radio where they played rap, whether pop rap or not, compared to apparently not like my colleague, go ahead and hit this. Because apparently you think me hitting that a whole lot is like something I started doing. No, they used to do that shit when we were.
No, that is some Zoomer shit. Like, hey,
that was some shit that we started doing in our They started doing that in our formative years, my friend.
I did not think that you came up with the air horn. It is very memey. I get it.
No, but I mean hitting it like a million times like that. That's not me. That's not a jazz thing, a super jazz thing. They were doing that like. They started doing that really, I want to say, in like the early 2000s, definitely mid 2000s.
Okay.
Like every hip hop radio, damn near, that horn showed up, and they would hit it like once or twice, and then as it went on, they would like.
Did they hit it for like 5 minutes straight?
Yeah.
Fair.
Not even trying to be funny. They like not 5 minutes straight. Obviously, that's an exaggeration. But they would hit the shit like fucking 15 times in a row type of shit. Bam, 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 like that, yeah.
Fair. Okay. It is what it is. Again,
not being that serious.
Yeah.
I know you know not being that serious.
Horn, sir.
I want everybody watching, listening. Although I don't think that they would take this super serious, I want them to make sure that unless it's obviously serious, a lot of these little squabbles are not that fucking serious, yo.
Super serious.
What the fuck? Was that your gang reel?
No.
What the fuck?
No. Why so serious? Why so serious?
I knew where you were going.
Super serious, and then I
were you waiting for me to fill in the blank for serious? Why so serious? No shit. Why so serious?
Well, you started talking about gang reel. Speaking of which, I've been told by our regular viewers that we talk about wrestling stuff on this show quite a bit, but we don't really talk that much about old wrestling.
Well, you said that when we did the in-person podcast,
and then we proceeded to talk about anything else other than old wrestling.
Well, no. You said that, which was a good point. And actually, on that episode, what we talked about was like I kind of said, okay, well, instead of talking about either, I threw out, do you think wrestling could get back to the popularity of it like it used to?
Okay.
So that's what we talked about. We didn't talk about a specific thing from either era. We just talked about as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
But for the sake of me not cutting you off and letting you do the do, so the second season starts, and just as the last one ended and the first one begins, you have the floor, my friend.
Wait a minute. Don't put this.
I'm making it way too epic.
I'm like, wait, the last one ended with me having the floor too?
Well, yeah, no, because you opened up the show for like started us going for the closing out the first year. So now you can start us going for opening up the second year.
Fair. Anyway, I was just saying.
I had a pizza. That shit was funny.
You know what I was watching? Oh, yeah. I had a pizza.
That shit was funny. Like, you actually had more to say, but just the way you said this shit.
Yeah. So, speaking of old wrestling and stuff, and so I'll start with a little bit of a modern day topic. It was this past week, Vince McMahon was on the Pat McAfee show with an interview. Have you seen the interview?
Have not seen the interview. Have heard some things about it from people who I watch that cover wrestling on YouTube, but have not seen the interview.
It's a good listen. It really is. And because Vince doesn't normally do interviews
at all,
like for real, and it's an hour and a half.
Wow.
And after about roughly 45 minutes and or the first hour or so, like Pat McAfee's radio show kind of ended and he just kept going on YouTube. And Vince was a lot more chill and stuff too. Like I don't think I've ever heard. As much as you look at Vince McMahon and you go, "Oh yeah, this is the kind of guy that'll drop some f-bombs," you don't really picture that until you actually see Vince McMahon in a chair being like, "Well, it was fucking cool," and it's like.
I think the reason why is because whether it was back in the day Attitude Era or when they went PG in 08, no matter how crazy the language would have gotten, they're not gonna say fuck.
Exactly. So but it's one of those things where it's like I don't think I had really heard him casually cuss before. Until there, or even call something else like cool and legit say something was cool, because
it humanized them. Is what you're saying?
Yeah, yes. Now I'm not gonna be like, oh, he's a humanitarian or anything, but he's more human. Right. Yeah, he still got all the flaws everybody knows Vince McMahon has, but damn, it was just good to see not the. And even though there's a little bit of the real Vince McMahon that is what because he's like, what was he saying? He's like, whenever Pat McAfee's like, oh, that's awesome, you're such awesome, and all the awesome things you do, he's like, I don't like pats on the back and congratulations. I don't like that. And like he was visibly upset when people were heaping praise on him, and I'm like, all right, that's interesting. But he also has a couple good sound bites in there. Ooh, and I guess I'll let you hear them and stuff like that for yourself if you're gonna hear them. But check out, Pat McAfee's show. I want to go and listen to the whole Brock Lesnar interview, but I know Brock Lesnar ended his interview with Pat McAfee. I want to talk about people who don't do interviews that are like 45 minutes to an hour long. Yeah, Brock
less than fucking Vince.
That's what I'm saying. Like Brock fucking Lesnar, he was hilarious. Did a whole bunch of Stone Cold, like from the clips I see, like doing the what things, and him like doing a Stone Cold impersonation while they all like, yo, what? Like we're gonna do this, what, and then do this. What and this and what and what, and I think he ended it with one where he then took off his headset and just tossed it, and it apparently got like stuck in the rafters, and it's still there this week. And they're like, we're not taking it down because Brock Lesnar threw that up there. That's a story piece as long as it's there. And I know they pointed that out to Vince, and Vince just legitimately was like, oh, that's so cool. It was like,
what the fuck? That's something that people like you said, it humanized Vince McMahon. I haven't seen it, but that's something that people forget. The reason why a lot of people who seem like these big strongholds and these juggernauts and these big like larger than life characters, the reason why they got to where they are is because at the end of the day they got that drive to get there, but they genuinely love what they do.
Oh yeah, you talk about Vince does not consider Vince has not worked in like 30 years according to him. What's work about it? I fucking love it.
Do what you love and work a day in your life. That's an old phrase, yeah.
Yeah, that's why we pursue dreams. At the end of the day, we don't want to feel like we're working.
God, right. That's honestly, yeah. I mean, that's and we just kind of went down we went from being all happy to like.
Well, people are pissed with their bosses and the way corporate America is treating them, much like they were in the '90s when they, still sought refuge in the works of, Stone Cold Steve Austin and his versus Vince McMahon thing, and yeah, but that was that. And go ahead.
The segue was really good.
I'm like, let's go back into the old wrestling before we go into all this stuff.
We were going to a somber tone.
Because they were talking with Vince about stuff like that with the 90s, and he was talking about like, oh, that was the Wild West. It was so fun. Every week, just the most fun we could have. And he's like, and Pat McAfee's like, but you made people like Stone Cold this. He's like, first off, a lot of people go there, but you just go out there and just gotta see what the crowds go out there and go in there. I remember the scene with the bedpan in the hospital. Like, we're recording Mick with Mr. Sacco, and Steve's just pacing back and forth in the hallway. And he was like, should I hit you with the headpan? And put you on the head. And it's like, that was a thick-ass bedpan. But you know what? It was fun. When you get hit, when the camera's on, you don't even feel it. Oh, my God. and just stuff
That's
like that.
believable too, though, because he really hit him, yeah, because everybody knows he hit him, and you heard ding.
Yeah, it was like, but I like the here. Just Stone Cold was like trying to convince him to let him hit him with the med pad. He's like, it's not that hard. I don't think it's that thick. Like it was a thick ass med pad. But stuff like that in the 90s, just Stone Cold Steve Austin. I was watching a stream the other day. I won't say the person's name or whatever because I don't want to draw too much attention to that particular person. But I was watching somebody on Twitch that I normally watch, and they decided to just recently start watching old episodes of Raw on stream and just reminisce. And the main reason I say that is because, you can talk about DMCAs and copyrights and stuff for doing. Or let's just air an episode of Raw and watch it. That's why I'm like, I don't want to draw too much attention that way. But it was just
you made it sound like you didn't want to draw attention because it was like, this isn't necessarily a good person. But you're saying...
No, they weren't necessarily doing...
You don't want to blow up the spot.
Exactly. But they were watching and... just reminiscent at like old Raw episodes. It's like 90s and it's like him versus the corporation. It's just like, it's Stone Cold's going to God, Stone Cold, beat that son of a bitch. JR and his fucking calling people.
He's not like that anymore. Not that he necessarily has to be, but in AEW, he is not the JR of fucking WWF. Not that he has
at the same time, he's still fantastic.
Oh, he's still amazing. But he's not going in there being like, oh my God, did you see MJF? The way that he just punched CM Punk. Oh my God, that killed him. That'd be his favorite thing. He always say somebody killed somebody. Somebody broke somebody in half.
Hunter Hearst Helmsley is a son of a bitch.
Yeah. Oh, no, your favorite.
Triple H. Damn you.
Damn you to hell.
Damn you to hell. Damn you to hell. Did you see like an episode where Triple H beats somebody? He's like standing on the table and you just see JR standing on the floor just, damn you, Triple H. Damn you to hell. I hate you.
Your favorite, because he always did
the
like have people like he would say Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Your favorite, those damn Dudleys.
That was a good one too. But there was a match that he was watching from a pay-per-view. The fucking match where they kept adding the stipulations. Because it was him versus Dude Love. And the since when? Since now? That's not right.
I think it was a DVD that me and my big brother Evan, I think it was a DVD that we had, and like we showed you, and that was a funny because it was like every time they added it, he said the same line. It's like I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was like this match is gonna have tables. Since when? Since when?
Yeah. It was like this is
that's
now.
Not right.
This match is
gonna have ladders.
But no, Paul's count anywhere. Since when? Since when? Since now? That's not right. And then like later they're like, this match is no disqualification. Since when? Since when?
He kept saying it. And
it's so
dude, fucking JR has some of the most epic calls ever. Like, let's not forget I don't know if it's underrated, but it's very much like rated at least up to a point. But the fucking, go ahead, climb the ladder, kid, make yourself famous. Man.
Go ahead. And speaking of making yourself famous, I remember Booker T won like the Intercontinental Championship. And JR's just like, oh my God, I did it! Booker T has climbed to the top of the mountain! And I'm like, the top of the mountain?
Oh, the Intercontinental? That's right.
The Intercontinental Champion. He's the five-time WCW champion. It's like, or World Heavyweight Champion. I think by then it had like been merged in. And you're talking about... He's been to the top of the mountain.
Don't get me wrong. Intercontinental title is a prestigious title, but is it the top of the right? I get what you're saying.
It's not the top of the mountain. It's a fantastic title. But now, to be fair, I think when he said it, like that particular storyline, Booker T had been getting gypped on numerous occasions. Like it was a rivalry, so it was a struggle to win it, but still.
That's not which I don't remember, but that's not the people like you with your nappy hair and your dance moves shit with him and Triple H.
No, that was for
That was for the title.
That was for like main event status of stuff during the reign of terror of Triple H.
Yeah. I don't remember that, and I mean I would have been young anyway, so I wouldn't have like really understood.
Yeah, essentially they were really trying to make Triple H be as hated as possible, which isn't that fucking hard. But
Triple H is good at being hated, yes.
But then they decided, I think, last second, because I think they the plan initially was Booker T wins, shuts up the racist, white dude. But like at the last minute, something happened, and Triple H gets to keep the title. And then he did the dick move of doing the pedigree and taking forever to crawl across the ring and cover
25 seconds or some shit like that.
And because that's the plan, and because he was supposed to pin him off the pedigree, and that was the end of the match, Booker T just had to sit there. And it was just kind of a fuck you, an extra fuck you. At least that's what people say on the internet.
Anyway, though, going back to like some more calls. Of course, we know WrestleMania 17, which, like you said on another episode, the best WrestleMania, and I very much agree. I remember back in the day, you happened to buy that shit, and then you recorded it, and me and Ibn watched it later. Like that was so good. But anyway, the famous call when he shook Vince's hand. Stone Cold Steve Austin has sold his soul to the devil himself.
To Satan himself. Stone Cold.
Why? Stone Cold.
Why Stone Cold? Why?
And then the next night
will never be the same.
And then the show went off. Such a great closer. And then the next night, millions of signs, thousands upon thousands of signs in the audience. Why Stone Cold? Why? So good. What else? Oh, the famous Mick Foley get thrown off the cell. God, he killed him. He is broken in half. That's why I said no.
Oh God! Fucking King makes so many moments funny too. Oh, what did I see? Oh, because I saw a thing of JR like lines or whatever, and there was one thing that happened where Trish Stratus. Oh no! It was actually I was watching a thing with the Dudleys on this one. You know the what's up thing. Well, Devon apparently had a trait that I didn't really notice back in the day. To a lot of times when he took a finisher and was like down for the count, he'd like start shaking and do a leg twitch and stuff like that. And so it was a clip of him. It was a compilation of him doing those. And one of them was when somebody and Trish Stratus did the like "What's up" headbutt. So Trish Stratus jumped off the turnbuckle and did that, and you just hear fucking JR. Can you imagine Trish Stratus ramming her head into your crotch? And King goes, "What? I got dreams about that, JR."
No, JR King is goated, man. JR King, they were mad.
Can you imagine Trish Stratus ramming her head into your crotch?
That's what I'm saying. He was saying this shit with so much intensity. Like one thing that I forgot until I watched somebody like doing a review on WrestleMania 17 was the TLC match where all the secondary people who were affiliated with the teams, Edge and Christian, Dudley Boys, Hardy Boys, came out to help. So Lita came out, Spike Dudley came out, and Rhino at the time came out, right? So JR was like, Lita over here jerking Edge off the ladder. Like, okay, what the hell, JR? Like, what the fuck?
I think in that one, he said it, and then he's like, oh, I should probably add some words to that.
I thought that he did it as a joke and knew what he was doing.
Maybe, but it also could have been either or. I feel like it was either one. Because he's like, people watching, yeah, she's jerking Edge off. And he's like, the ladder. And then probably like laughed or, like pressed like the mute button and laugh or whatever. And King probably like, oh, I wish she'd do that to me, JR.
I will say this. Looking back at some Attitude Era stuff, now that I am a grown-ass man, as well as how the climate of the world and just the collective mental of the world has changed, some of that shit, on the level of, the way they dealt with the women, not all of it, but some of that stuff is a little like, whoa, we did that. Like, some of that stuff. Some of that stuff is like, it is what it is, sexualization, that whatever. some of that stuff is like, ooh, we was all really okay with this. I'm gonna go stand in the corner like the Blair Witch and think about what I just did. Like
Yes, it was, and I'm not condoning the stuff they did back then. That was terrible. But there
I
were
don't think
other
anybody was
matches that were fun and stuff too. There were other matches, and there were good things back in the Attitude Era, and that's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
So,
like in early Ruthless Aggression, we had Katie Vick. That was a great no.
Wow. Wow. Speaking of Triple H trying to be as despicable a character as ever.
My gosh. You want to talk about behind the scenes. When you talk about, man, when Triple H was in, for those of you all who do not know, because we are talking about older wrestling at the moment. So for those of you all who may not know, because this was outside of the Attitude Era, but still close to it. So people were watching, but maybe not as many, right? So the Katie Vick story.
We're going into okay.
I'm gonna try to explain the Katie Vick storyline as digestible as possible.
Just say it at this point.
So, Kane, I forget who he was teaming with. I think it was Kane and Hurricane.
I think so.
Yeah, and there was supposed to be a TLC match for the tag titles, and Hurricane had gotten taken out. Kane's partner had gotten taken out of the match. Hurricane was a wrestler who believed he was a superhero. Mm-hmm. You know, was he a superhero, or did he believe he was a superhero?
Back. Who's to say? Hurricane coming through.
Anyway, because the dude who played him, Gregory Helms, said, or Shane Helms, whatever, said that he played it like he believed he was a superhero more so than he actually was. So who's to say he was not? Anyway, so they were a team, almost like some masked misfits or whatever type deal, right? And his partner gets taken out, so Kane has to go into this. It was either a triple threat or a four-way of like tag teams, and Kane was like the sole man out, like by himself in this episode after his partner got taken out, and against the odds, he beat the other two or other three teams like by himself, and it was this like crazy triumphant episode. And then Triple H, and I still say this was one of the best cliffhangers that went to one of the shittiest, stupidest stories. When he came out, he was like, "Congratulations, Kane, on your victory. But I know what you did. I know about her. I know like who you killed or something like that. I know about Katie Vick." And then the episode ended. And it was like, what does that mean? What does that mean? Right. That's weird. Since now, that's not it. Who the frick is Katie Vick? But no, I remember, man, my young ass was like, who the fuck is Katie Vick? What does that mean? Oh my God, hurry up and be Monday. Oh my God, please be Monday. And then you find out that Katie Vick was supposedly someone who Kane, all of this was bullshit that Triple H had made up. And I think it was like 03 at this point, maybe. But Katie Vick was supposedly someone, a woman that Kane had like on prom night or some shit, had his way with her, you know, obviously against her will or whatever, and then killed her. Okay. So then they say, and we have footage.
Not okay, but...
No, not okay.
I mean, very not okay, but...
Very, very, very much not okay. But we move on, and Triple H says, and we actually have footage. And it's like, the fuck you mean y'all got footage? We go cut, and I'm very much like expediting the story. So go ahead and look for it if you can find it, because it's not on the WWE Network, and it's hard to find online anyway. I know because I tried, because I wanted to rewatch it over the years, rewatch and be like, oh my God, was this really like? Obviously, it was like bad. Like, but you know, like, oh my God, I got to see this again. So we cut to the footage, air quotes, and Triple H is in a funeral parlor with a Kane mask. Supposedly supposed to be Kane in this footage. In a Kane mask, shirtless, with jeans and shoes on. in a funeral parlor, and he finds Katie, who is dead, in the casket. And then we cut to, like the scene cuts, and Kane, really Triple H in the Kane mask, is wearing a flesh-colored thong and having mock sex dry humping a mannequin that is supposed to be Katie, therefore being a necrophiliac. And just the way he's talking about, ooh, I feel your breasts and like all this stuff, and he was like feeling on her chest and all this crap, and just like feeling like this man, even before they started like having the mock sex, groping the mannequin, all this wildness. Then, like I said, the flesh-colored thong, he's humping the thing, whatever. And at the very end, the famous line, and if you all are watching this, Pete has hung his head down because he knows what I'm about to say. He says, "Oh no, you're kidding. You're kidding. I didn't." And he reaches down and he says, "Oh no, you're right. I screwed your brains out." Picks up a handful of spaghetti noodles and meatballs and sauce and shit and throws it at the camera.
It's so terrible.
So what are we gonna talk about next time? Like, I'm ending the podcast now. What the fuck?
No, I remember the fucking screwed your brains out. That was terrible. That was a terrible line. But yes, the Katie Vick thing was terrible. But I'm just saying, Triple H just what? Go ahead.
I was gonna say real quick, the behind the scenes of that, Triple H said that apparently when they were doing that in the funeral like parlor, said apparently there was a funeral going on in the next room. And he had to like do that enough, like to where they would do it, but they could like hear people like apparently in the next room, like having an actual funeral service. Hey, man, not amen. Wow. Okay.
No, very much the opposite.
But you know, you were gonna talk about like Triple H, yeah. So no, the Katie Vick, and that's VIC or VICK. But yeah,
that guy did so much stuff. That guy did so much stuff over the years. Just the character's just an asshole. Fucking, and he does a lot of shit like that. Break into funeral partners and fuck corpses trying to frame somebody else. What else did he do? Oh yeah, there's the time he, kidnapped the boss's daughter a couple days before her wedding, got her drunk and forced her to marry him.
But then later
there's that whole thing, only for her to turn around and be like, I wanted to do it.
Yeah, I was posing for the camera. What? I was posing for the camera? What?
Yo, surprise! I've been evil this whole time too. Wait, what? I'm a big man. We're all evil.
Basically,
Shane's not that evil. The only one that's not is the one that wasn't by blood, Linda.
Right, and right. The only that wasn't by blood, and also the one that can act. So
also true.
So yeah. Your next opponent is Stone Cold. Like, okay, all right.
Of the whole grapefruit saga where she kept cutting the grapefruits in half to act like she was like threatening Vince, because Vince used to talk about how great he was and his $1 million grapefruits. And then they had the whole genetic jackhammer. And they had the whole saga with the I Want a Divorce saga with him and Linda, and then she would do stuff like cut grapefruits in half, talking about taking half his money, and then also I guess just cutting his boss in half or some shit. But then she would just have a whole bunch of shit when she like talked about him. That saga was weird. And then fucking Vince. Then there was like a saga where she like was drugged or something and in a wheelchair, or there was an accident or something.
WrestleMania 17 had the culmination of that.
So that was all during that. Oh my god.
Yes, it was. Yep. Because WrestleMania 17 was like the finale, so to speak.
Of so many things.
Because that was when Vince was like. He like you said, he was doing the whole like stepping out on Linda thing, and he drugged her and made her catatonic in a wheelchair, but wanted her to see him going out and frolicking and doing whatever the fuck with all these fucking like young women. So he purposely made his wife catatonic, but still conscious. So he said, I want you in this wheelchair. I want you to see all the shit that I'm doing to you. What? What is wrong with you?
He was also trying to make sure there's a lot of people that are on the top list of heels that are like, no, you got to realize I'm a terrible person too.
But no, WrestleMania 17, no, like I said, that was the finale of that storyline. Because in the match, first of all, the street fight where the father and the son were going to beat the shit out of each other. What were we watching, man? And then the mom is at ringside, brought there by the father's mistress. What the fuck? Because Trish Stratus wheeled her out, right? And then she fucking brings her up and like, I want you to see. And then fucking out of nowhere, she stands up and kicks him in the dick. And like everybody says, that is still to this day one of the biggest pops in wrestling, and definitely probably the biggest pop by a non-wrestling like personality, like non-wrestler, where she just stood up and the whole crowd lost their shit. And that shows you one thing, that I'm gonna sound like what I don't want to sound like, but you got to call a spade, as you were saying in some of the last few episodes. But that shows you how a lot of stuff in that era back then, unlike as often now, how great the storytelling was. This woman just stood up and tens of thousands, 100,000 people just lost their shit that she just stood up. And then she kicked him in the nuts and made it better. If you look closely, you can see, because Linda McMahon is not a performer like that. If you look closely, she stands supposed to kick him in his nuts. She stands up, and then Vince looks at her like, oh, and then spreads his legs a little wider so she can kick him better, even though obviously he's not supposed to know it's coming.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but
right, it's just funny.
That'd be wrestling. So, but yeah, that was crazy. And I'm pretty sure now part of the whole thing about Stephanie randomly turning on Vince being like, I was evil the whole time anyway.
Like,
when you think about it, that's post I'm pretty sure that's after the ministry shit happened. Mm-hmm. And the ministry shit was some fucked up shit. Stephanie. Yeah, the ministry shit was fucked up too, because Vince had Undertaker not Vince. The higher power kidnapped Stephanie, was doing stuff to Stephanie to torture Vince and whatever. And, Vince is complaining like, Mark, please stop. You want to talk about people blaming, recent days for kayfabe dying. Vince, Vince on his stuff on TV is like, The Undertaker is a character played by Mark.
Yeah, they were like
assaulting my family.
A wall back when people weren't doing that shit, right?
They're like, Mark, stop attacking my family. Mm-hmm. And then eventually, they go do the whole big reveal of who the higher power is. There's rumors that it was meant to be somebody else, but Vince saw him and he said he was too short to be proven to be a higher power, so they changed it at the last minute. But anyway,
who was it supposed to be?
I don't remember exactly. But they were like an inch shorter than Vince, and thus they were way too short for Vince to take seriously, is the rumor. That's why I say it's a rumor. Okay. However, who we got, because none of us fans knew any of that stuff, we're just like, who's it gonna be? Who's it gonna be? And also, while Undertaker's doing this stuff to Vince, Vince and the McMahons are still doing shit to Stone Cold as well, and so is the Ministry. The Ministry fucking crucified Stone Cold at one point.
On the Undertaker symbol, like a cross type shit, yeah.
Yeah. And I think they tried to literally sacrifice Stephanie at one point.
And Stone Cold saved it, and then you hear JR, he didn't do it because he didn't do it for Vince. He didn't do it because of Taker. He did it because it was right. With his southern accent, because it was right. He kept on saying this shit. Yeah.
And then you get to who the fuck is this person that hates us? And all of a sudden, the classic, it's me, Austin. Ah, son of a bitch.
Yeah, son of a bitch.
It was me all along, Austin.
And if you look at the story of that didn't make sense, because it's like you put your family through damn near literal hell.
Not surprised Stephanie turned out to be evil later. That's what I'm saying. You had her feeling like she was gonna be sacrificed.
And you brought it full circle.
Tortured, and all this stuff, and then later, you know what? Yeah, fuck that dude.
It's like you pretended like you were getting tortured your damn self to the point where you were like, shake off this character, let me be my real self. You fucking were going to crucify one of your employees, no matter how good or bad he was. You were terrorizing the shit out of your family. You were about to get your daughter sacrificed to whatever this weird cult was. And then the whole time you were the one pulling the strings. What kind of sociopathic ass weirdo shit? The fuck?
Man,
Like what? Again, great storytelling, but that's one of those that the son of a bitch classic. Again, JR was a classic. Yeah. But no, great storytelling, but that's one of those situations where the like behind the scenes stuff kind of ruined it. Like this McMahon's illegitimate son.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too.
Now that wasn't Attitude, that was Ruthless Aggression era, but that was, for those of y'all who don't know,
it's just old. It's just old by now as well.
Very much old by now, right? At least 15 years now, right? I believe, right? But Mr. Anderson in TNA, he later became, but Mr. Kennedy, in
Mr.
WWE.
Kennedy.
He was the shit. That man had charisma out the ass. I don't give a fuck.
Kennedy!
This motherfucker would introduce himself and damn near do it better than Nelson.
Kennedy! Kennedy!
Do his own echo and shit, right? But it never came off corny because he was awesome. So good.
It was corny, but it was corny in the best way.
But the behind the scenes on the illegitimate son, like illegitimate child stuff, for y'all who may not know, because less people were watching. So they were doing this storyline. They were planting these seeds. I forget who was the first to say that, like Vince had the illegitimate son. Who first came out and said? I don't
remember, man.
Okay. Well, somebody said Vince had an illegitimate son to get the Cliff Notes version. To give the Cliff Notes version. Somebody said Vince had an illegitimate child. And they went back and forth weeks and weeks and weeks planting seeds. Like they would throw out, say a wrestler's catchphrase or, to throw it out or, whatever. And one time, Mr. Kennedy even patted Vince on the shoulder and said, yeah, something, dad. Like I believe he even said that shit. But Mr. Kennedy ended up.
And Vincent Kennedy McMahon, for people who don't know at home, they were trying to make it very obvious that.
I didn't even think about that, but yeah. But yeah, Vince's middle name Kennedy, right? But Kennedy ended up not passing the wellness policy, and he got suspended for however long. Right when they were gonna I believe that's what it was.
I heard it was a Mr. Orton that was mad that Kennedy dropped him on his head in a match. I said that's what I heard.
You probably know better than me.
That's what I heard. Is that it was a Mr. Orton got dropped on his head one too many times in one match and was like, "Fuck this, get him out." And so they did. And that's what I heard. Because he did a similar thing when, Kofi missed a cue in a match and he kind of got him pushed down the ladder rather than out of the company. And that ain't just rumor. They made that full-on storyline.
They made that into a storyline. Because I remember, we'll get to that in a second, the Kofi thing.
Well, that's new. But yeah.
Kofi was looking like a main eventer, when they were doing that shit too. Anyway. What's his name? The Kennedy thing. Yeah. So whatever happens, we actually, I believe that Pete's thing is a little more accurate because mine was very much I'm trying to remember and I don't. But for whatever reason, the man was not available. He was out of the company, got fired. So since he did, but they had already planted the seeds. Again, great storytelling fucked up by behind the scenes. Just like the higher power. So they had a leprechaun who was played by a little person. And Hornswoggle was his name. And since they had planted all these seeds that Vince had an illegitimate son, they couldn't just let the story fall by the wayside because it was it was like the main event storytelling that they were doing for however long they were telling this fucking story, a few months or whatever. So the DNA results came back, and the leprechaun was Vince's illegitimate child.
Hornswoggle.
Hornswoggle,
Put some respect on the name.
Put some respect on his name. They called him the creepy bastard for a minute.
Yeah, they did. They called him a lot of things. He was also DX's mascot at one point.
Yeah,
because he was gonna sue the DX in Little People's Court.
They were gonna sue him because I think he was doing like Suck It or some shit like that, and they were talking about his gimmick infringement.
Oh yeah, okay, that's why they went to the court. And
me and my brother watched that episode when they went to Little People's Court. Under the ring, they crawl under the ring because the leprechaun Hornswoggle lived under the ring.
Because of course he did.
So they crawled under the ring, Triple H and Shawn Michaels in the DX, which wasn't the DX for real. It was the 2006 after DX.
Well,
but not really
regardless, that's what they called themselves.
Yeah. But anyway, the 06 and after DX crawls under the ring, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and all of a sudden they're in a hallway. What the fuck? And then they walk in and they go to Little People's Court, which was full. It was a straight up court. It was, the name tells you. Mm-hmm. It was a Little People's Court where they had a little person judge, a little person bailiff,
yes,
little person prosecuting lawyer, defending lawyer.
Yes.
It was like, what are we doing here, y'all? Like,
well, I mean, if you're gonna call it Little People's Court, you might as well go all the way.
Oh, well, silly me, for thinking that maybe we should have done it in the first goddamn place.
Okay. I agree. They shouldn't have done it in the first place, but they did, so you might as well.
Like, let's not say, Black People's Court. Like, the fuck? You get to that.
I mean, WWE hasn't made that joke, but others have. I almost guarantee you, Black People's Joke or Black People's Court is a joke that has been made on numerous occasions by now.
Did you know what I said?
No.
I said Black People's Court. I said, that's why I'm laughing. I was like, don't fucking Black People's Court. I said, you get access to it by swiping an EBT card.
Damn. That's messed up.
That's some funny shit. God damn it, that's hilarious. Oh, you get two by dunking a basketball. Is that better? You can only gain access if you have the flyest Jordans.
You got the flyest Jordans. You ain't got J's on your feet. You ain't getting in this court.
But no, fucking. They had Black People's Court and fucking bailiff sitting there with the fucking the judge sitting there with the robe like half open, turned backwards. Like, come on now.
Or just have everybody in the court be black.
This is true because aside from everybody in the court being little people, they weren't doing stereotypical little person things. So I will give you one there, my friend. It was very much not. It didn't go down that route.
Now, to your point, had they done Black People's Courts, that's exactly what they would have done.
Because they did Crime Time.
Crime Time, Prime Time, Street Profits.
Crime Time Players wasn't that
bad. They weren't thug stereotype, but to say they're not stereotypical would just be false. They're just a different stereotype. And I'm not saying it was bad. In fact, I wasn't that big on Crime Time. I that was one of those few times in my life where I saw something and actually felt a little offended on the first thing.
For good reason.
But when that music hit and it went, yo, 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 grab a 40 and get your rollers. It's crime time. I'm like, wait, yo, yo, yo.
We bringing the hood to you. We bringing the hood. That's how we do. What? But the bad thing about it is, rest in peace, Shad Gaspard too, by the way.
Kratos.
But the bad thing about this shit though is, as stereotypical as it was, and as much as we shouldn't have liked this shit, they got some of the most charismatic people to portray these stereotypical characters. So as much as you didn't want to like it, you couldn't help but like these dudes.
Yeah, they won me over after a while. I didn't watch a lot during their like heyday in WWE. By the time I watched, they were rarely on. But I was just like, these guys are cool. Because I took a break in
that's what I'm saying.
Early 2000s.
Like some of those charismatic motherfuckers, man.
Yeah, so, and Shad Gaspar, by the way, was the mocap guy they got for the most recent God of War. Obviously not Ragnarok, but the one that came out on PlayStation 4. So, yeah, he's Kratos.
Batista was saying, he actually posted when Shad Gaspar passed away, he actually posted something to talk about how it really like tore him up because Shad was starting to get into like movies and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And now his career will never go nowhere. So yeah. But
anyway,
I mean, the fact, first of all, they called the team Crime Time.
That too. Like, that's what I'm saying. The thing that did it, like, having two black, and even here's the thing, I'm not gonna lie, dudes want to call themselves Crime Time, cool, whatever. I had a group of friends, we were black and call ourselves like the Soldiers because No Limit did it or something like that. I know that's not hood.
New Jack and somebody back in ECW called themselves the Gangsters, but
Gangsters and all that kind of stuff. I don't have a problem with Crime Time. The name. It was, and even with them like kind of dressing it was when you hit me with the yo, grab a 40 and get your. I'm like, what? No, what is that? The yo combined with all of that? That was just the like the proverbial straw on the back. Like, okay, no, y'all went a little.
They would like, take people's shit or whatever. And they said apparently Lita's like last day in the company around that time, the way that they went out was like when they fucking like took Lita's bag and started giving away like her belongings and her unmentionables or whatever the fuck, so to speak, and just like all her shit, just like giving it away. And that was like, I think that was like her last episode, like for a minute. And it was like, that's what you do? You just basically embarrass the fuck out of this woman? But no. Speaking of Lita, remember the live sex celebration and how weird that was?
That was Edge and Lita, right?
Edge and Lita, yep.
I remember hearing about it.
Oh, you didn't see it? I saw it.
I had stopped because I had stopped paying attention. I had heard about the whole Matt Hardy versus Edge versus Lita thing because of the IRL situation between them and all of that. So I was keeping an eye on it. I didn't see the episode that the live celebration was on because of reasons, but I do know about it and I've seen the clip since then.
No. Now, the one thing I didn't see was apparently there was a nip slip like live. Like I didn't see that.
Apparently.
Apparently you see Lita's like tit for a second. But
fair.
But no. These motherfuckers, it was like Edge had won like some title. I think it was the main title. So Edge was like, and then tomorrow night, because it was like at the pay-per-view or some shit like that. He's like, tomorrow night, to celebrate, we're gonna have a live sex celebration in the center of the ring. And it's like, the fuck are you talking about? And these motherfuckers had a bed in the center of the ring. Like what? First of all, they had a bed in the center of the ring, satin sheets, all this shit. They turn on some like mood lighting and shit. Motherfucking she strips down her bra and panties and Edge in his fucking like boxer briefs. And they start grinding on each other, and then they get under the covers, and next thing you know, Lita takes a bra off, and that's when they apparently had the nip slip because the cameraman was in the wrong angle. And he takes his stuff off, and they actually like are under these covers, basically like about to. I believe somebody interrupted them. I don't remember, but they basically like according to kayfabe, as they say.
Yeah.
He was gonna celebrate by fucking in front of like thousands of people,
and
millions, depending on like the viewers at home. Like what?
On this day, everyone would have seen clearly.
Yeah, but what's his name? Lita said on interviews that like her and Edge didn't want to do that. They were like, you gotta have a live sex celebration. They were like, man, can we do something? Nah, live sex celebration. Well, can we maybe do it? Live sex celebration. But can we probably
damn it, get in the ring and take off your clothes.
Pretty much.
The audience wants to see it. And I know what the audience wants. I always do everything for the audience.
Oh man. But yo, we could go on and on and on and on and on about this stuff because we have been lifelong friends and have watched wrestling a good deal of our lives. But without going too far into it, because we're coming up on time, speaking of doing things for the audience, hopefully you all don't mind sticking around and continuing to be our audience. And if you would like to be our audience on other parts of our socials individually, then maybe you would like to find and follow me on Facebook. At the moment, having some issues with my Facebook. Hopefully I get it back. If not, is what it is. C'est la vie. But up until then, go ahead and find and follow me on Facebook, which would be under the name Superjaz. So that would be spelled Superjaz. You could also go ahead and find and follow me on Twitter, which would be under Superjaz2. So that would be Superjaz number 2. And of course, you can find and follow me on my Instagram, which would be Forever Superjaz, the word forever spelled correctly. And one last thing, if you want to see a little bit more into my psyche, I am a rapper and MC from time to time. So anywhere that you stream your music, you can go ahead and look for My Secret Identity, which is my debut solo album that I released last October. You may have to put in Superjaz, My Secret Identity, since I'm not so famous yet. Where can they go ahead and help you grow your audience, man?
Well, obviously, you can find me here every week, every Wednesday on the Whatever We Want podcast. You can also find me elsewhere on YouTube as feogrande. That's Feo Grande. I'm also on Twitch.tv and Twitter at Giotavi. That is Giotavi. And I recently realized I could have more than one like slot for emotes on my channel for like subscribers, so I did finally get this little guy back as an emote on my channel. So that's cool. And yeah, and by the way, for people who are only listening when I say this little guy is an emote, I mean myself. It's a picture of myself. But yes, yeah, that's about where you can find me. I'm streaming more often and stuff like that in March and stuff. I'm back trying to regularly do that. I just need work schedules and life schedules to line up so I can but I'm doing it more often. Come by, check it out, playing games.
Word. Well, seriously, we always say it, we always mean it. Thank you all for the watch and or listen. And one down to make a year, 51 to go. So help me out here, man. For the second one. In this, trek of another 52. The fuck are we gonna talk about next time?
Whatever you want.
Be nice to yourself, everybody.
Adiosness.